Hello and welcome to Woman of Purpose. Today I want to share my testimony with you. Now, today is an emotional day for me, but not as bad as how it used to be. Today marks the 9th year of my daughter's death. 9 years ago, I gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. Beautiful baby girl. Her name was Ariel. And I lost her 3 days after she was born. My journey in pregnancy was a rough time for me. I have gone through 5 pregnancies and I lost 4. And so she was the one that actually came. Though she was premature, she came. I gave birth to her. I saw her, I heard her cry, I touched her. She was beautiful. And then she was gone. So I was very devastated, very devastated. And I was so hurt, I was so broken to the point that I didn't even want to live. It was that bad. And it was a point where, when I was carrying her in my womb, it was a point where I was being restored. My walk with Christ was restoring. Because I got saved when I was 18 years old. I didn't got saved in the church. You're going to hear a minister preaching and so forth. The Lord came to me himself. And I got saved in my bedroom. And during that time, transitioning into adulthood and so forth, I slipped away many times. I've backslidden so many times. But the Lord never gave up on me. And so I keep coming back to him. And then something happens and I'm out of the church again. Usually it's relationships. Get involved in relationships with men and the wrong man. And I backslid. So when I got saved, when I got pregnant, I was restoring. My faith was being restored. So I lost her. The day before I lost her, that night, which I never told anyone, that night before she died, I heard a voice saying, she's going to die. And I said, no, she's not going to die. I said, the devil is a liar. The morning I got up, I was still in the hospital, and the morning I got up, they told me to come over to the ward that she's on. And I went over there, and I saw doctors around her. And I was like, oh my gosh, and I was praying, and I was like sending text messages, please pray for my daughter, please pray for my daughter. But it was late. She died. She was born at 7.5 months, so premature, but she was doing well. She had flesh on her body, and she was pink, and she was rosy, she was crying, she was doing everything. She was very active, just as in the womb. She was active, a baby in her womb. And then they told me she died, and I was so devastated. I cried and I cried, and I held her in my arms when they gave her to me, and I held her in my arms and I cried, and I was like, Lord, give me back my daughter, give me back my daughter. I was so devastated. But when I left the hospital and I got home, and I was just crying and crying, and I had to be re-hospitalized because I was in the hospital for 3 months because my cervix was open. So they had me on bed rest in the hospital for 3 months. And to see that she came and she was breathing on her own and she was fine. And then she died. But it shook me so bad that I didn't want to live either. And I was at this point to cursing God. I said, why did you take my daughter from me? You know how much I wanted her. You know how much I wanted this child. And you took her from me. And I was just so broken. And I was ready to give up on God. Because remember, it was a time that I was restoring my faith. And I lost her. I was believing in God for her. And I almost turned my back on God. And when I realized that I was at the point of turning my back on him, I said, no, this can't be God. This can't be God. There's some other forces behind this wanting me to turn my back on God. And so I reached out to my pastor at the time. And I went to her office and, we did a session called Restoring the Foundation. And it helped. It helped. Because one thing that she said to me is that instead of trying to heal the cut on the outside, let's go on the inside and heal that wound. And so we began the process of restoring the foundation with my God. And that helped me a lot. I didn't turn my back on him. Instead, I ran to him. And, God just put many people into my life from there on that helped me, that opened my eyes to so many things about the kingdom, about the spiritual realm. He put so many things. I remember I was in the hospital and a lady there, she was saying to me, talking to me about the spiritual realm, that what I was going through with all the miscarriages is more than just a miscarriage. But I didn't understand because I didn't understand about the spiritual realm. And so I shunned her. But the Lord still, he sent somebody else and he showed me more about Christianity. It is not just about coming to church. The word of God says that we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities in high places. I began to start understanding about these principalities in high places. So he helped me. And then I started going to another church years later. Because even then, after I lost my daughter, I was still in and out of the church. I still wasn't grounded. Until 2 years ago, I became so grounded. Because God had a purpose for me. And he brought me into a ministry. It wasn't a big church that I used to go to. It's now a smaller church. But the teaching that I have received there, it's like nothing that I have ever experienced before. It has taught me a lot. It has taught me about the Bible. I begin to now start to read the Bible. I begin to now start recognizing the voice of God. I begin to start listening to him and hear what he has to say. I begin to start listening and get the revelation of his word. And so I am today. If I hadn't recognized the forces that was behind me wanting to turn my back on the Lord, I wouldn't be where I am today. Because the devil wanted to take me out. One way or another. So he used the loss of my daughter. But I said, no, no, I can't turn my back on God. I can't do it. So I am here now. He has brought me from so far. I mean, I had desired to have a child, but I didn't have the story or the ending of some women who have gone through 13, 14 miscarriages and ended up having a child or children. I still don't have children. I still don't have a child. But I'm not going to let that consume me, because God had a purpose for me. My testimony today is to help someone who is going through the same thing that I'm going through. 2 years after I lost my daughter, this day has been hard, the hardest day of any days of the year. I would be folding up in bed, crying my eyes out, won't get out of bed, don't go to work, don't do anything. I don't eat, I don't do anything, because I was grieving the loss of my daughter. But because I went to that session of restoring the foundation, every year it became easier and easier. This morning I'm out of my bed. I'm doing things. I'm doing this video to help another woman who has gone through this. I've never shared my story. Well, I shared it with a few people, but not everything. Not about the pain, the devastation that I went through, where I wanted to die, that I wanted to turn my back on God, that I heard the voice that said, she's gonna die. But here I am, because God has a purpose. He had a purpose for me. And that purpose is now to help others, to help others. Yes, I wanted a child, but it's just not in for me. It's not for me. And sometimes children, having a child is not for everyone. Maybe it's just not for everyone. Some of us, we have a greater calling. We have a greater calling. We have to go through a lot of things so that we can help others, to help the ministry that God has placed in us. So it's hard to say, but just trust the process. Just trust the process. If it is in God's will, then He will give you a child. He will. But there must be a purpose. There is a purpose in everything that we go through. We have to have scars. We have to have scars. Because that scar, it refines us. So if you are going through what I went through 9 years ago, God is able. Don't give up on Him. And don't give up on your hope either of having a child. Just don't give up on Him. Because we don't know the plans that God has for us. We don't know it. But let it play out. Let it play out. Just continue to love Him, trust in Him, walk with Him. Don't give up. Don't give up on God. Now is not the time. His coming is near. No, is not the time to give up on God. So just stay with Him. Just stay with Him. Go through your grieving process, but let God help you through it. And the key to it that I have learned is to just restore the foundation. Let go of who you have to let go out of your heart. Find that hurt that you have and ask the Lord to heal it. He will bring you through. He will bring you through it. He has brought me through it. People say, boy, Marsha, you're strong. But it is a strength that God has given me. It is because I reached out to him, because I knew that my salvation was in trouble. I knew that my relationship with him was in trouble. And so I reached out to him and I said, God, I'm not going to let you go. I'm not going to let you go. I need help. And he sent me help. He told me where to go. I got that help. And from there on, he has brought me from higher to higher in him. Yes, there are times when I fall behind, but he is faithful. He said no one can pluck me out of his hand. And he has shown me that no one can pluck me out of his hand. When my daughter died, the other miscarriages, yes, that pained, it pained my heart. But this one was so special because she came. And she was my last time. I was like, I'm going to try one more time. One more time. And she came. And I was like, nope, that's it. She's the only one I'm going to have. And she was gone. She was gone. But God brought me through it. He brought me through it. So if we need help, from the Lord, just ask him to help us. And he will help us. Because it is not his desire for us to fall away from him. It is not his desire. He wants us to be with him. Not to go to hell. So if we just call on him and say, God, I need your help. I am hurting. I've lost my child. I've lost my desire. I've lost so much. God, I need your help. Because if I don't get your help, I'm going to fall from you. And I'm going to be in the hands of the devil. And that's not where I want to be. And he will help you. Just trust in him, woman. Woman of purpose. Trust in God.